Hello and welcome to another exciting and wonderful episode of Africa Update right here on Trust Television, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. We have a lot for you in store today. Don't go nowhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Africa Trust Television, where we give you updates on what's happening on the African continent. And I'm your host, Chiamaka. Nwafor. We're going to start with Nigeria, where they have signed an agreement with Niger, a new security cooperation agreement, which aims to bolster regional stability and security. African News has more.
Despite strained relations following last year's coup in Niger, Nigeria and Niger have signed a new security cooperation agreement. Announced by the Nigerian army on Thursday, the accord aims to bolster regional stability and security. The coup in July 2023, which ousted Niger's President Mohamed Bazoum, strained relations between Nigeria and Niger and caused divisions within the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. The coup raised concerns about efforts to combat Islamist violence in the region. ECOWAS had threatened military intervention in Niger if diplomatic efforts to restore the democratic government failed, prompting Niger, Burkina Faso and Mali to withdraw from the 15-member bloc in January.
From there we go to East Africa, where the Democratic Republic of the Congo has vowed to sue Rwanda at the East African Court of Justice in Arusha on September 26th. Here's more from African News.
Despite strained relations following last year's coup in Niger, Nigeria and Niger have signed a new security cooperation agreement. Announced by the Nigerian army on Thursday, the accord aims to bolster regional stability and security. The coup in July 2023, which ousted Niger's President Mohamed Bazoum, strained relations between Nigeria and Niger and caused divisions within the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. The coup raised concerns about efforts to combat Islamist violence in the region. ECOWAS had threatened military intervention in Niger if diplomatic efforts to restore the democratic government failed, prompting Niger, Burkina Faso and Mali to withdraw from the 15-member bloc in January.
Over now to flood-related matters. Residents of Kogimata axis of Chikaji in Sabongari local government area of Kaduna State, who are now living in displaced people's camps in the aftermath of ravaging floods, are appealing to the government to immediately provide relief materials for them. The flood, which submerged 200 houses, and the community also destroyed many houses, forcing residents to seek for shelter elsewhere. And Trust TV's Bello Musa has more.
This is Yusuf, a flood victim wandering in the community. With thousands of thoughts on his mind, he is left without a shelter as floods destroyed his house. He had to move to the camp as he had nowhere to go to with family. The flood that affected our community destroyed my house. Though victims of Zaria flood are now taking refuge at the camp provided by the Kaduna State Emergency Management Agency, however, they are still appealing to government for help.
We are appealing to the government to construct drainages for us. We lost our animals to the flood and our children were trapped under the collapsed building. The whole episode was catastrophic. We pray that the government will help us get out of this situation.
The State Emergency Management Agency revealed that 50 people sustained injury as a result of the flood in Zaria.
So far, we are able to access 200 houses that were affected by this flood, and we have about 50 people that have been injured. But so far, so good. The Red Cross have been trying their best, together with the local government council and our zonal office, to see how we can reorient those that are traumatized. That Ilya mentioned, if the government must work that place out, definitely a lot of houses must be demolished. So I am telling us, so as to get ourselves ready, we cannot risk other people's life just because of personal sentiment. we have identified 708 illegal structures within prone areas.
The agency also appealed to residents in flood-prone areas in the state to vacate and move to safer locations.
Still related to flood, but over in Sudan, flood waters have swept through many communities and villages in northern Sudan over the past 2 days, resulting in the deaths of dozens and collapsing hundreds of homes. Here's more from Africa News.
At least 31 people have died and hundreds of homes destroyed by floods in Sudan in recent days. The devastating floods have swept across many communities and villages in northern Sudan over the past 2 days. Some residents are now recounting the damages they suffered, including their homes that were swept away. It was just the beginning. Then slowly the water increased, and soon after we saw the houses and walls collapsing. Thank God we realized that. From our place we didn't see the damage to the entire village, but we heard the news of houses collapsing and that some neighborhoods no longer had any house left. I am currently standing in my grandfather's house, and as I said, I came here as a displaced person. This is a house I used to visit since I was a child, and I remember its details now. I am shocked that it has also collapsed. Heavy rains and flooding across Sudan this month has displaced more than 317,000 people, according to officials. Many families are now struggling to rebuild back their houses after the damages. We are currently working on building a shelter for the family using materials from the collapsed house, such as pipes and roof debris. We will use this shelter until, God willing, relief comes soon. Of those impacted, 118,000 people have been displaced, exacerbating one of the world's biggest displacement crises due to the ongoing war in the country. This week, Tuesday, marked 5 other days since Sudan plunged into war after fighting broke out between two waging sides.
Moving away from that, the Geneva Convention. The Geneva Conventions, the treaties that govern humanitarian treatment in war, are celebrating their 75th anniversary. As the world commemorates their creation on August 12, 1974, Africa's leaders are emphasizing their significance. The Foreign Minister of Sierra Leone, Timothy Musa Kaba, a former child soldier, has called for increased international support for the Geneva Conventions, highlighting their role in rehabilitating himself and thousands of others after the Civil War. VOA's Paul Ndiho has more.
75 years after the ratification of the Geneva Convention, former child soldier and current Foreign Minister of Sierra Leone, Musa Timothy Kaba, shared his personal experience with the conventions and emphasized the vital role the International Committee of the Red Cross, ICRC, played in his rehabilitation and reintegration into the community.
I stand here today as a former child soldier, forcefully recruited during the civil conflict that decimated over 50,000 of my compatriots. I need not dwell upon the trauma of those years, but I do need to acknowledge here today in this bad place of modern global humanitarianism that it was the ICRC which profoundly helped me to overcome through several interventions, both physical, practical, and psychological, from the trauma of my war experience and to be reabsorbed in normal society.
The permanent representative of Mozambique to the UN, Pedro Comissário Afonso, also praised the conventions as a moral beacon and legal compass during and after armed conflicts in the history of his country.
They guided the actions not only of the parties involved in conflict, but also of the humanitarian organizations that worked tirelessly to alleviate the suffering of the Mozambican people.
Tatiana Valovoya, the Director General of UN Geneva, highlighted the enduring importance of the conventions, emphasizing the need to adhere to international humanitarian law even in the face of violations.
Today, it's really very, very important once again to understand that even if the conventions are violated, nevertheless, they are so important because they allow us to remind everybody that the wars have rules, even the wars have limits, and we really have to stick to the international law, to the international humanitarian law, and we have to develop this law.
Against over 120 ongoing armed conflicts globally, this commemoration underscores the importance of multilateralism and adherence to international law in preventing and resolving disputes. It serves as an emotional reminder of the ongoing need for global support to uphold the critical accords of the Geneva Conventions and protect the rights of individuals affected by armed conflicts.
And to health-related matters, Democratic Republic of Congo, the health experts in the Democratic Republic of Congo are sounding their alarm about the impact of the Mpox outbreak among women and children living with HIV/AIDS, especially those in and around conflict zones. VOA's Esther Githu Ewart spoke with Dr. John Dite Kemena, the DRC's country director for the Elizabeth Pediatric AIDS Foundation, about the Mpox spread in Congo and available treatments of the virus, as well as about the spread of HIV/AIDS among women who are victims of sexual violence.
Thanks, Esther. This is a big crisis indeed. We are experiencing an increase in Mpox new cases in the country. As of August 26th, around 18,000 suspect cases have been reported, and around 4,800 confirmed cases, and 600 deaths. Most affected are children and adolescents, likely due to the household transmission. And the most factors that are making worsen the situation are the fact that DRC is experiencing the armed conflict, mostly in eastern part, in south and north regions, but also around 1.3 million as of today are IDPs, the internally displaced persons. And with the weak immunity, that can help us, lead us to anticipate that people living with HIV and children are mostly affected, and malnutrition is playing also a key role on that.
Right, Doctor, you mentioned concern about women, and we understand there are also children living with HIV and AIDS as well in those areas of conflict zones. But why is Mpox particularly dangerous for this group of people?
Oh, this is very, very, very dangerous, because there are evidence that show that this group is very most vulnerable. For instance, particularly for women, pregnant women, there is a study that evaluated maternal outcome in pregnancy and the complications that reported 34.3% of fertility cases in pregnant women with Mpox. This means that this increased the likelihood of death by twofold. And miscarriage and preterm at 39.9%, around 40% of this complication, and vertical transmission, mother to child, has been also reported. So there is a lot of...
Doctor, very quickly, let's address, I understand that there was a meeting between you medical doctors, the DRC government, and also WHO to come up with an action plan to help DRC combat the Mpox. What more can you tell us, maybe very, very briefly?
Actually, there are a lot of meetings and consultations going on. The government, the WHO, and other stakeholders are working mostly to get vaccines provided to the country. And we were expecting some doses already that had been delayed. Actions are actually aligned with the WHO recommendation, including strengthened surveillance, enhanced scale-up and equity access to the medical care. And as you may know, we are putting into actions prevention measures, as that has been implemented also for COVID, but specifically adapted to Mpox.
We're going to go on a short break right now. When we come back, we'll be looking at China's trade with Africa and how people, regardless of their situation, can still make impacts on the world over with a Malawian fashion designer. Do stay with us. We'll be right back. Thank you for staying with us right here on Africa Updates, Trust Television, reaching from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. Now let's go back to some of our stories. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov held bilateral talks with his Senegalese counterpart Nwafor in Moscow on Thursday. Let's take a look.
Senegal and Russia seek to improve their bilateral agreements in different sectors. This comes as Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov held bilateral talks with the Senegalese counterpart Nwafor in Moscow on Thursday. Fall noted that Senegal advocates for a peaceful resolution to conflict in the Sahel region as well as Russia-Ukraine crisis. By questioning the recent history, one realizes that the African and Russian worlds carry a close relationship that goes back to the colonization of our continent and the fight against apartheid. We've also discussed the reduction of terrorist acts in the Sahel region and the urgent need of eradicate them. There are many conflicts that affect the world. Senegal encouraged the finding of peaceful resolution negotiated in the different crises, being the Russian-Ukrainian crisis, but also in the heart of our continent, in Sudan and the Democratic Republic of Congo. The two countries hope to increase collaboration on mineral exploration, energy, agriculture, scientific research, formation of hydrocarbon workers, as well as fisheries.
Still related with trade, Africa's trade with China has over 1 trillion yuan, according to data released by the General Administration of Customs. African News has more in this report.
China's trade with Africa grew steadily in the first 7 months of the year, rising 5.5% year-on-year to close to $167 billion, according to data released by the General Administration of Customs. China-Africa trade reached a record high of $282.1 billion in 2023, up 1.5% year-on-year, showing stronger resilience. China has long been committed to deepening China-Africa economic and trade cooperation with ever closer industrial ties. China's trade with Africa in intermediate goods posted 6.4% year-on-year growth in the first 7 months of this year. In 2023, China's imports of African nuts, vegetables, flowers, and fruits increased from the previous year. China has remained Africa's largest trading partner for 15 consecutive years, according to the customs.
Now we head over to innovations and inspiring things. Over in Malawi, Africa's first solar-powered tractor is undergoing field tests. Experts say the hand-operated AFTRAC or Africa tractor could help smallholder farmers improve yields. Lamek Messina reports from Mzimba district in northern Malawi.
The solar-powered AFTRAC tractor aims to help Malawi's smallholder farmers break through the hard top layer of their soil. Agriculture experts say crops struggle to grow in the packed earth.
Over decades, what has happened with our soils is there is a compacted layer. So compact that even the penetration of roots is challenged. Even infiltration of rainwater is challenged. So because of that, yields have been declining.
Deep bed farming is an agricultural practice the charity Tiani is championing in Malawi. It involves deep tillage to break down the hard pan soil. Chavula says AFTRAC is a collaboration with Loughborough University in England, and that it is the first for smallholder farmers in rural Africa who have long struggled to break the hard layer of soil with a handheld hoe.
So you drive it, you are walking behind it, and by pulling you can make, you can dig a canal. And that is quite unique because we don't have such tractors around here. And those who have traveled in Africa, they say, not even in Africa, we don't have.
Preliminary testing suggests the need for adjustments to improve the tractor's capability.
So when we're trying it, we see that sometimes maybe it goes off, sometimes it's okay, but also it can do the job very well. Even if it does the job very well, but it's not really breaking the way we want, like the way we do debate farming.
The adjustment, she says, would include increasing the number of chains to till the land. Despite some preliminary shortfalls, AFTRAC won the $1 million Milken Motsepek Green Energy Prize in May. The tractor comes with a solar panel for charging its batteries. Users can plug into the solar array to power their homes, which farmers in the Emzam village like Elizabeth Gondwin appreciate.
Some people from neighboring villages admire us, saying our village has received a blessing from God. We now have electricity we use for lighting and connecting to TV screens the whole day and the whole night.
Government agriculture field officers believe the project would help Malawi's farmers increase crop yields once adopted.
There will be high income for the farmers as compared to using our local method, that is using a hoe. So as compared to a tractor, then they'll be able to cultivate a very big land.
However, Tiani says the project would encourage farmers to form cooperatives to share the benefits of the AFTRAC project and their deep bed farming method. For Lamek Masina in Mzimba District, Malawi.
Still staying in Malawi, Ruth Chiwa is transforming the fashion industry in other developing countries, winning awards and gaining international recognition for her designs. Chiwa's fashion line, Upe Collection, is hosting a fashion show next month that aims to break down barriers between people with disabilities and those without. Lamek Messina reports from Mzuzu City in northern Malawi.
Ruth Chiwa's entry into the fashion industry was not planned.
I never thought about fashion designing. I never thought that I'll be a fashion designer. Growing up, all I thought was I would do business management.
But that changed when a lecturer suggested she switched to fashion design because of the stylish outfits she wore to class. Now, 3 years into her career, Chiwa has received praise for her designs and started a fashion brand, Upe Collection, based in Mzuzu, Malawi.
I remember in 2022, I managed to win an award for Focus on Ability short films first of all. I won as Best Actress on my documentary that I submitted.
She was also named Best Female Star Fashion Designer at the 2023 Shining Stars Africa Awards. And recently, Chiwa's designs were shown in Portugal thanks to the help of fellow Malawian designers Really Alfonso and Zandria. It has not always been easy for Chiwa, who recalls times when some people refused to buy clothes from her because she has a disability. But she says she has managed to curb discrimination by believing in herself and meeting her clients' expectations.
When it comes to my creations, I always want to deliver, and also it's a matter of me doing what I know best.
Celebrities and prominent fashion designers in Malawi like Chris Ngalu appreciate the uniqueness of her designs.
A lot of fashion designers in Malawi, they like to just stand behind making clothes with, like, for example, chitenje and stuff. But her stuff is like out of the box. It's very modern and it's a breath of fresh air.
Chiwa has also become a source of pride for her former learning institution.
Ruth has inspired many learners with disabilities here. Most people with disabilities tend to be down on themselves, but Ruth has proven that anyone can do anything.
Chiwa is preparing to host a fashion show early next month that aims to challenge societal norms and promote diversity and inclusion, especially of people with disabilities.
Wow, isn't that inspiring? Regardless of her disability, she's been able to make something out of herself, which goes to say that no matter whatever happens to you, where there is a will, there is a way. And that's so much we have for you today and this week on Africa Update. I hope you've been educated, inspired, and learned something new. Same time, same place next week. But don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms and on our YouTube live stream. Until then, My name is Chiamaka Nwafor. Bye for now.